Bonjour everyone, I am Yann, your favorite friendly Frenchman, and welcome to the 6th episode of Exploring PARC CIEL BLEU. Before we go back into the park, I feel like I should tell the ones who are only joining us today that my intention with this series is to show you as many details in the park as possible and to tell you my inspiration behind them. Now that you've been brought up to speed, let's jump right in. Episode 6, Rue Jules Verne and Passage Gévaudan. Last week we said goodbye on Rue Jules Verne with Passage Gévaudan in sight, right in front of the convergence. We won't ride this main attraction of the park before the season finale in 2 weeks, but what I can show you is that there is a date on this manor, which is actually the year of birth of Jules Verne, 1828. Jules Verne is often considered to be the father of science fiction and adventure novels. He has developed those genres with numerous works you may have heard of, such as 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Journey to the Center of the Earth, From the Earth to the Moon, or Around the World in 80 Days. More on this one later. Being a science fiction author from the 19th century, Verne's mind is also considered to be the origin of the steampunk genre, which is why I wanted this manor to be an homage to him, as the convergence in style is inspired by his work. Although a tad more fantastic, I admit. Rue Jules Verne runs from Passage Gévaudan to the bridge that leads to Port de l'Ouest, and there are actually many things on this road. We have another attraction board and we are going to cross Bête du Gévaudan off our list today. Moving on, we also have 2 other interactive features for the guests, first of which is yet another water refiller, which I guess you know the design of by now. And here are my famous lockers. People love those because they are pretty light on pieces. They use equipment boxes from the studio spec and an ATM. This design is available on my workshop page too. Do you remember when I mentioned Around the World in 80 Days a minute ago? This is a balloon flat ride inspired by it. Why don't we go on it to have a nice view of Port de l'Ouest? I love those rides in real life. The only time I rode one of them was at Portaventura in the Chinese area of the park, and I remember it was a really relaxing experience after riding multiple times in a row Dragon Khan and Shambhala. I really advise you against it, or at least don't do it as much as I did. This flat ride is awesome and is probably the most well placed in the park, though the majority of them also overlook a body of water. Let's hop over the fence real quick because I have something to show you in the basket of the big balloon. Our 13th hidden crow, of course. Let's go back in the guest area and try not to get hit in the head by one of those baskets. I hope you're hyped for the next episode because we'll go across the water to Port de l'Ouest and ride Vendée Globe Experience. You might want to subscribe to avoid missing that. And look, we have another hidden crow here on this ledge of the house. That is number 14. Speaking of the house, you might wonder what it's doing there. Well, I imagine the Dubois, the owners of the domain PARC CIEL BLEU has been built on, were once friends with Jules Verne himself, and built him this little retreat for him to write. As a writer myself, I could only dream of having my riverside home one day. We shall see what the future holds. Maison Jules Verne, or House Jules Verne in English, is inspired by his real house in Amiens, which is roughly an hour away from PARC CIEL BLEU. I copied the brick and stone patterns, but what I've especially copied was this sort of spire thingy with the circles around it. I've never been inside the house, but I always was attracted by this little feature sticking out as I walked the streets of Amiens. Now I think we're done with Rue Jules Verne, or at least until we get to ride the Convergence. So let's get to Passage Gévaudan. Gévaudan is an old region where a lot of farmers and cattle were located, and the grim story from the 18th century is that there was this beast roaming around for 3 years that was responsible for around 100 deaths among the inhabitants. The beast turned out to be several wolves or dogs, but the rumor was that there was this werewolf around these parts. What a great theme for a kiddie coaster, don't you think? I've put a Zoltar fortune machine because there was a lot of superstition around the case that there was dark forces at play in this story. Whispers even got to the ears of the king himself, who sent some men to investigate. You might remember this staff area from episode 4 as it links Passage Gévaudan and Place des Alpes together. It seems like a long time ago, but it was only 2 weeks ago. Can you believe it? Alright, it's time to ride the dreadful Bête du Gévaudan, or in English, the Beast of Gévaudan. We can see the remains of a campsite set by the king's men on our right. I wonder what happened to them. Did you hear that? I think I heard a wolf. Whoa! There it is! The beast itself with its monstrous jaw! It's coming back to attack the village! Come quickly, we have to tame the beast! I think it's pretty safe to say we've successfully tamed the Beast of Gévaudan. It's only going around in circles now. I think the poor thing has lost a lot of brain cells over the years. The station has my usual 101 stuff in it. That is back storage, an operator to signal the control booth that the ride is good to go, a sequencer to serve as a double check to launch the ride, and since there's no gates on this station for some reason, don't ask me, I have no idea why, the person that checks for the EcoPass can also theoretically dispatch people after. Oh, and also it's one that is really hard to see, but if you go up on this side of the station, you can see our 15th hidden crow, and the last one for this episode. And actually, that was Passage Gévaudan. It was always put there as a space filler by the Yanko company to absorb a large amount of kids that would come to the park. And by the Yanko company, I obviously mean myself, not like the Yan in Yanko gave it away or whatever. As I told you earlier, I do consider the convergence to be on Rue Jules Verne, but the reason I didn't write it today is to do something epic with the last episode, and I hope you're ready for it because it's gonna pack a punch. What is also going to pack a punch is the view from Pont de Bois, which means wooden bridge, and I know it seems uninspired, but it was the name of the university where I used to study cinema a couple years ago. So another little Easter egg that you could only understand if I told you. And here is Port de l'Ouest, ready for the next episode. It's time we say goodbye again. But don't worry, we'll see each other again next Friday for episode 7, where we'll ride Vendée Globe Experience. Thanks for being here with me for the 6th episode of exploring PARC CIEL BLEU. If you liked it, well, please leave a like or a comment on the video, and consider subscribing to avoid missing out on the future episodes of the series. This has been Yann, your favorite friendly Frenchman, and I'll see you in the next one. À bientôt!
Hidup modal in la onda dia ini.